I mean, I do all types of music, but I think the stuff I'm most known for is definitely kind of has a retro sound to it. Definitely like 80s, late 70s, disco, funk, soul. But I'm just all over the map. Like I like everything. My goal was always to be influenced by that music and then try to just make it sound new and fresh. My approach has always been from a producer mindset. So especially with loops and stuff, I'll keep them pretty simple. So it's like it's easy to chop up and manipulate. That's kind of always been my approach is like, what would I want to use? Well, I'd want this kick and snare that sound like really, really good and just like done. And then I can chop them up and, manipulate them any way I want. I'm always super excited when I hear them on a song, any song, whether it's like a huge pop song or just some independent artist putting something out. I don't know, it just makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing and that my stuff is actually like quality, This is the original loop here. Super simple. I think the thing that I recognized first when I heard this on records was definitely the fill. That end part, that and the open hat on the one, that was really like a distinct thing where I was like, it caught my ear as soon as I heard it on those records, Justin Timberlake, SZA, The Other Side, which was a pretty big song. Dua Lipa, Don't Start Now, I believe it was used. I can't 100% confirm that, but I know Ian Kirkpatrick, the producer, uses a lot of the Power Tools samples. So Royal Blood, Typhoons is another one that's more of a rock track. Johnny Honey Pie is kind of like an indie pop thing. And Carol G, Location, just kind of like a Latin pop song. So it's kind of a diverse lineup of artists that have used this one particular drum loop. I think for me, the Royal Blood one kind of stood out because they did a lot of other drum production on it. Like I could definitely hear the fill, but they did so many other drum fills and stuff like that, and they really kind of embellished it and brought it to life, And then the other, like the Justin Timberlake song was they just straight up use the loop and it works perfectly. I mean, that's kind of what they're for. It's like you can just take the loop and just use it and it's going to sound good, or you can just completely dissect it and chop it and rearrange it, and that's kind of the whole point. Doja Cat Say So was a really huge record. Most of the drums on that, if I'm not mistaken, are from the back, for sure. Bunch of one-shots, bunch of loops and stuff like that. So, and that was like one of the biggest records of the year, So I think the basis was probably this disco loop, disco drum loop 111, which I think is off the first pack. To me, it sounds like he probably dried it up a little bit because there's quite a bit of reverb on that clap there. And then we have like a live hat loop, I believe. What's this one called? Hats Drum Loop Live 115, which is just this. Just classic kind of live hi-hats. There's a shaker tambourine just kind of tucked in as well. Live clap, again, this one's got kind of a bunch of reverb on it. And then one-shot snare disco, which he might have, I think, pre-shifted it a little bit. It's probably more like that. Oops. Yeah, with a lot of these disco one-shot, like snares, they'll have a clap just before the snare. That's kind of the key to making those sound kind of authentic, I guess. So that sounds like this. Yeah, so it's a real tight, like punchy kind of snare, but that clap right before it kind of gives it more of a, I guess, a retro kind of sound. And then the last one I think was Punchy Top Drum Loop 100 beats per minute. And I think it's probably just that little clap from that loop. Yeah, so those are meant to just kind of give the drums more punch. They don't really have any low end in them. It's just more of like a super hard transient. So if you kind of want more attack out of your drums, a lot of times rather than adding compression and like a transient shaper, I'll just throw a loop like that and it just kind of like, I don't know, just makes them punchier, I guess, more attack. So all together it sounds like I believe this one, has two sounds from the second pack, and then the rest are from the first pack, yeah. The second one I had to design more stuff from scratch, and this third one was just all from scratch pretty much. And this time I actually got other sound designers involved because I wanted more diversity, I guess, in the sounds. I think for the third one, it's difficult because I've done so much other stuff on the other ones that, I was just trying to come up with stuff that I hadn't done before, and then some stuff that's kind of more the same, but hopefully better sounding. Like, it's a lot of just experimentation and trying to make things sound different and better. And there's all kinds of new plugins that come out, and you're like, okay, how can I manipulate this? And, hopefully improve the sonics of the samples, I had one guy who does like cinematic trailers and stuff like that. So he did a bunch of like big cinematic one-shots and like kind of orchestral loops and stuff. All the cinematic drums and the music loops were done by Alec Marr, who's like a really amazing composer. He does a lot of trailer work. He does like the big Marvel movies and stuff like that. So this stuff's like very legit. Trailer stuff. So stuff that I'm not particularly great at, and I was like, I kind of want to get that flavor on this. And then just some other sound designers just to get more diversity and just more interesting stuff that I wouldn't have done. But I like both things. Like I'm someone who, I use loops in my own production. Sometimes I'll make stuff all the way from scratch. Other times I just kind of want to use something that sounds good and just do it quick, So it's cool to just see how people have used these things, and the fact that they're on actual like great records that are hopefully like timeless records is amazing,